When I moved into Willow Creek Estates, I thought I was choosing a quiet, family-friendly neighborhood where my 12-year-old daughter, Maya, could finally grow up without the noise, chaos, and problems of the city. Most of the residents were polite, some were friendly, and a few kept to themselves, which was fine with me. But then there was her, Karen Whitfield, the self-appointed queen of the HOA board. Karen wasn't officially the president, but she behaved as if she ran the entire neighborhood. She had a habit of stepping into everyone's business, trash cans not pulled in quickly enough, lawns not trimmed to her liking, cars parked 2 inches off the curb. But I kept my distance and taught Maya to do the same. We weren't there to make friends. We were there for peace. One Saturday afternoon, peace was the last thing we got. I was inside the house, preparing lunch, when I heard raised voices in the driveway. Not yelling, but tense, sharp enough to catch my attention. Maya had gone out only minutes earlier to return a volleyball to Mrs. Parker, who lived across the street. I wiped my hands on a towel and stepped outside. That's when I saw Karen standing far too close to Maya. Karen's teenage son, Blake, a tall, smug 14-year-old who thought he was God's gift to the world, stood behind his mother with crossed arms. Over the past few months, Blake had developed an uncomfortable interest in Maya. He would accidentally show up near her walking route, pressure her to talk to him, and even leave awkward, borderline creepy notes in our mailbox. I told Maya to avoid him, and she did. Apparently, that was the problem. "Don't be rude, young lady," Karen was saying, her voice sharp and accusatory. "My son is trying to be nice to you. The least you can do is give him a chance." Maya hugged the volleyball to her chest. "I'm not interested. I just want to go home." I stepped forward. "Is there a problem here?" But before I could close the distance, Karen reached out and slapped my daughter across the cheek. The sound cracked through the air like a whip. Maya stumbled back, eyes wide with shock and fear. My world stopped. For half a second, I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. All I felt was a cold, controlled fury rising in my chest. Karen didn't even look guilty. She simply snapped. This is what happens when children aren't taught manners. I moved so fast Karen actually stepped back. "You touched my daughter," I said quietly, dangerously. "And you're going to regret that." Karen scoffed, flipping her hair. "Good luck. The HOA listens to me." She had no idea what I was capable of, or how thoroughly I was about to make her pay. The moment Karen slapped Maya, something inside me shifted, like a switch flipping from tolerance to absolute resolve. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply placed my hand on Maya's shoulder, checked her cheek, and led her inside. She trembled, not from pain, but from shock. That shook me more than anything else. I knelt in front of her. "Maya, I promise you," I said softly, "she will never touch you again. Not ever." Maya nodded, though tears sat unfallen in her eyes. "I didn't do anything wrong, Dad." "You didn't," I said firmly. She did. But Karen had made one fatal mistake besides laying her hands on my daughter. She assumed I was someone who would roll over because she had influence in the HOA. She assumed wrong. Documenting the evidence. Before doing anything else, I took photos of the red mark on Maya's cheek. I asked her to recount what happened while I recorded it. I knew Karen. If there was one thing she excelled at, it was manipulating narratives. She loved twisting events until she seemed like the victim. Not this time. Once Maya calmed down, I stepped outside with my phone. From across the street, Mrs. Parker stood on her porch, arms folded, face tight with anger. "I saw everything," she said before I even asked. "That woman has gone too far. Would you be willing to give a statement?" I asked. She nodded instantly. "Gladly. And you're not the only one she's bullied. Half of us are sick of her." Interesting. Very interesting. The HOA meeting plot. I spent the rest of the afternoon making calls. I spoke to 5 neighbors who had their own experiences with Karens, harassment, threats about fines, fake violations, intimidation tactics, and favoritism toward her friends. Out of all of them, the last call surprised me the most. Mr. Thompson, one of the actual HOA board members. "She's been overstepping for years," he admitted. "She isn't even president, just loud and pushy. But if you bring evidence, the board will have to take action." "Good," I said, "because I'm bringing everything." "Are you sure you want to go against her?" he asked. I looked at Maya sitting on the couch, holding ice to her cheek. "Absolutely. Karen's mistake." That evening, as I watered the front lawn, Karen strutted past with her usual arrogance. She smirked, as if she'd won something. You can glare all you want, she said. But the HOA will back me. Not you. I smiled calmly, too calmly. Oh, I'm counting on the HOA, I replied. But not in the way you think. Her smirk faltered. She still didn't know the storm I was preparing. But she would. Very soon. The HOA meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening, for days after the incident. That gave me enough time to gather evidence, organize witness statements, and make sure Karen had no room to twist the truth. Every hour, I added something new to the growing file: photos, videos from neighbors, screenshots of threatening emails she'd sent people, even audio recordings of her yelling about standards during her infamous driveway confrontations. By Tuesday, word had spread that I intended to bring formal complaints against her. Some neighbors avoided eye contact, afraid of getting caught in her web. Others approached me quietly, thanking me for finally standing up to her. Apparently, Karen had created such a culture of intimidation that people felt relieved. Someone was finally challenging her. Karen, however, behaved like a queen preparing for a coronation. On Wednesday afternoon, she marched up to my door with her son, Blake, trailing behind her like a sulking shadow. She didn't knock, she hammered. I opened the door slowly, already recording. You need to drop your little complaint, she snapped without greeting. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? Yes, I replied. A woman who assaulted a child. Her face twisted. Your daughter was disrespectful. My son offered her friendship. She rejected him. That taught him that he was entitled to her attention, I said bluntly. Blake shifted awkwardly, clearly embarrassed to be part of this. Karen jabbed a finger toward me. If you keep this up, I'll make sure the board fines you for every single infraction possible. I already have 5 statements from board members and neighbors saying you've threatened them the same way, I said. Try again. For the first time, her confidence cracked. You're making a mistake, she hissed. No, I said calmly. You made a mistake when you hit my daughter. She stormed off without another word, dragging Blake behind her. That told me everything I needed to know. She was rattled. Good. The HOA showdown. By Thursday evening, the community center parking lot was full. People who hadn't attended a meeting in years showed up, murmuring among themselves. Maya held my hand as we walked in. She wasn't afraid anymore, just determined. Karen sat near the front, acting unbothered, though the tightness in her jaw betrayed her. When the meeting began, I stood and presented my case with calm precision. The photos of Maya's injury, Maya's recorded testimony, Mrs. Parker's eyewitness account, 5 additional neighbors' complaints, screenshots of Karen's harassment messages, 2 videos of her threatening residents, and finally, a statement from an HOA board member. With each item, Karen shrank further in her seat. By the time I finished, the room had gone silent. Even her friends avoided her gaze. Karen opened her mouth to defend herself, but no one wanted to hear her. Not after what she'd done. Not after what I'd revealed. Karen stood up slowly, gripping the edge of the table as if it could steady the collapse of her world. The confidence she usually carried like armor had cracked. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but even her closest allies avoided making eye contact. I didn't slap her, she started weakly. She must have. Mrs. Parker rose from her chair. I saw you do it, she said firmly. Clear as day. And I'm willing to testify to that anywhere. Another neighbor chimed in. You threatened my wife last month over a lawn decoration. Someone else added. She fined us for a fence that was already approved. A ripple of voices. Mr. Thompson, one of the board members, finally spoke. Karen Whitfield, based on the evidence presented and testimonies received, the board is putting you on immediate suspension from all HOA activities, pending further investigation. Karen's face drained of color. You can't suspend me. I practically run this community. Exactly, another board member said flatly. And that's the problem. The room murmured with agreement. Karen looked around, her mouth moving but no words forming. Blake hunched in his seat, wishing he could disappear. I felt Maya squeeze my hand. Justice felt good, but I wasn't done. The inevitable consequences. Outside the community center, several neighbors approached us, thanking me for stepping up. Many had felt powerless for years. They were relieved someone had finally exposed her. By the next morning, the news spread across the neighborhood like wildfire. Karen's suspension was only the beginning. With the board formally reviewing her actions, the complaints against her multiplied. Residents who had stayed quiet for fear of retaliation now came forward, sharing stories of intimidation, harassment, and fabricated fines. Karen spent the next few days hiding behind drawn curtains. Blake stopped wandering the neighborhood. The empire she built on fear had collapsed. The final blow came 2 weeks later. The HOA board officially removed her from all positions, banned her from participating in future meetings, and ordered her to pay back several improper fines she had imposed on homeowners. But the biggest hit? She received a restraining order preventing her from approaching my daughter. That was the part that mattered most to me. Moving forward, life in Willow Creek Estates transformed almost overnight. Neighbors began chatting more. Kids played outside without being shooed away. And the community started feeling like a community again. One evening, as Maya and I walked down the street, she looked up at me. "Dad, yeah, thank you for believing in me." I stopped, knelt down, and hugged her. "Always. No one hurts you. Not on my watch." Karen had tried to assert power over a child. She'd relied on fear and intimidation. But in the end, she learned something. You can bully a neighborhood, but you can't bully a father protecting his daughter. And she paid for it.